Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, this is Spider, and May the 4th is coming up, and there's a brand new Star Wars movie coming to theaters. So, for the whole month of May, I'm going to be doing nothing but Star Wars reviews, starting with this guy, Star Wars The Black Series Archive Boba Fett. And to get things started, we'll take a look at the packaging. So, here we have the box. You got Star Wars The Black Series at the top, you got Boba Fett on the side, you got Archive on the other side. You got black and white image of Boba Fett right there. On the back of the box, you got a bigger black and white image of Boba Fett, which looks very nice. You got an image of the original figure. You got a little bio if you want to pause and read that. Bunch of other words and stuff, and that's pretty much it for the box. On to the figure. And here we have the figure, and it is exactly the same as the 2013 version, which makes sense because the whole point of the Archive Collection line is to re-release older figures to give collectors a second chance at getting a character they may have missed. Which is a really neat idea, and I hope they keep going with that. Anyways, to start off this review, we should take a look at the articulation. So the head is on a ball joint hinge combination, which if you work them in tandem can get the figure to look pretty good amount up and a pretty good amount down. You can also get some tilting, and obviously you can look all the way around if you wish to do so. The arms can go only that far out, unfortunately, because the pad kind of gets in the way, but the arm can go all the way around. You get an elbow swivel. You get a pretty good bend at the elbow. And the gauntlet is separate from the arm, so you can move it independently. So that's pretty cool. The arm can rotate and is on a hinge. There we go, focus a little bit better. So that's pretty cool. Now, do be careful with the right arm, because it does have a tube that goes from this part of the arm to that one. So be careful when bending it, because it does kind of stretch the tube a little bit. So just be wary of that. I mean, it hasn't broken on mine yet, but just be aware that's a thing. It also has what I think is a ball joint at the waist, so you do get a little bit of an ab crunch and a decent arch. Also, you can go side to side. So that is nice. And also these belts and pouches are a separate piece from the body, so you can move it around so you can get it out of the way while posing, which is very nice. Speaking of which, let's get it out of the way right now so we can move the leg. It can kick that far forward, and unfortunately can't really kick all that far back because of the butt sculpt. That's unfortunate. The legs can spread a decent amount. You get a thigh swivel and a double jointed knee, which is always appreciated. Foot can go down and up, and you get pretty good pivot. So, articulation on the figure is quite nice. It is limited in some areas, but for the most part, it's pretty good. I like it quite a lot. You know, could use some improvements here and there, like maybe a double jointed elbow instead of just single jointed, so you can get a deeper bend. But with what you got, you can still pull off some pretty good poses with the figure. Now, we can move on to the details. We'll zoom in here. I'm going to bring up the camera a little bit so you can see it better. There we go. Focus up in there. So let's start with the details. Unfortunately, the rangefinder, antenna, whatever you want to call it, this thing can't move at all. It's just a solid piece of the helmet, which is unfortunate and kind of strange. I don't know why they didn't make it move, because we take a look at the Saga Collection's Boba Fett. They made it so that the antenna can move. And this is smaller and released years prior to this figure. So it's like, if this one can do it, why couldn't they do it with this one? I don't get it. That really bugs me that you can't move that. Like, I know he didn't move it in the film, but come on. They could have done it. But anyways, it's got lots of nice battle damage. You got silver paint all over him. Make him look all scuffed up, and that looks very, very nice. Also, like, just the shape of the helmet. You know, sometimes the helmet shape can look a little off, but I think they really nailed it here. It looks quite nice. You got the chest. You got some red in there. That little symbol on there. You got the symbol on his shoulder. You get the gauntlet. It's pretty cool. You got even all these little buttons and stuff painted on there. You get this bit, which is a bit longer in the film, but I understand why they shortened it, so it doesn't, you know, no risk of like breaking it or anything. And the other gauntlet is different looking. So you do have asymmetrical gauntlets, and that's pretty cool. You get 2 trigger finger hands, which is nice. So you can hold guns in either of his hands. And the shoulder cape is actually cloth, which is nice. I always appreciate that. However, I do wish it was maybe a softer fabric, because this is kind of stiff a little bit. But hey, the fact that they included a cloth cape at all is quite nice. I always prefer cloth over plastic cape. Then you have his Wookiee scalps, which, yeah, if you didn't know what those little braids are on his shoulder, they're Wookiee scalps to show that he was able to take them down, which is kind of dark, but, you know, whatever. He has pouches and belts and stuff, and more pouches on his legs. He has knee armor. Then you got little pockets on his shins, which have like blades and tools and stuff, which is picked out in paint, which is very nice. You got his gray boots with the little spike tips on the front of them. On the back of the figure, you got the 2 little belt buckles, which would hook onto the jetpack. And we got some little paint scrapes on the back, even though the jetpack covers it up. So I appreciate that they put that there, even though you don't really see it. You got more of those belts. You got a holster, which is just simple brown. So yeah, lots of nice detail on this figure. I really like all the little attention to detail. He's even got those little tiny triangles that are on the very tip of his helmet. So that's very nice. So yeah, lots of nice detail. They did an excellent job. Ooh, that was kind of bright. At picking out all the detail and adding all that. Very appreciative. Now, we could move on to the accessories. And we'll start off with the jetpack, because why not? And you can see, even this has nice battle damage and all silver scraped up detail. You got some red details on there picked out. You got these 2 little thingies picked out in silver. There you go, you can see it a little better. You got the thrusters, which unfortunately don't move. They're just solid, part of the jetpack, which is fine. You got the missile, which also can't move, like you can't remove it at all, which I thought was a little disappointing. Like, again, I know he didn't use the missile at all in the film, but come on, it's a toy. Have some creativity. It would have been really cool if you can remove the missile and make it look like he launched it or something. On the other side, you just got the 3 connection bits. Interconnected is simple enough. You basically just plug it in, and then these 2 little tabs will just kind of rest on those. And there you go. There you got Boba Fett with his jetpack, which looks quite nice. Now we can move on to his blasters, which he's got a couple of. To start off, we have the... what's in here? We got the Sacros K11 Blaster Pistol. Yes, apparently that is what this thing is called. Which is pretty cool. You can put it in his hand. You get the finger in the trigger, which I always like. But if you don't want him holding it, yeah, come on. Give me back, Boba. Come on. Give me. There we go. You can come to this previously mentioned holster and just slide in there like that, which is very nice. I always love it when toys have actual functioning holsters and sheaths and stuff. That's really neat. I always get a kick out of it. Anyways, now we can move on to his more infamous EE3 blaster rifle, which is very nice. Even the gun's got battle damage on it. Look at that. You got some silver things on the side. You got some tan for the handle. Detail on the other side. Unfortunately, there's no hole for the barrel. Really wish they put in and molded in a hole so it's not just a nub. It actually looks like a real blaster, but whatever. And of course, he can hold this too, which is a little tricky to get it into his hand because you gotta get the thumb and the fingers and everything in place and get it kind of finagle it a little bit. There we go. We got Boba holding his rifle. And of course, that looks pretty dang cool. And of course, you can get him to dual wield the blasters. And yeah, that's just a really cool look. Yeah, that's just really cool. And also, for those of you wondering, this pistol wasn't just added in here just for the heck of it. He actually did have a pistol on his hip in Empire Strikes Back. So that's really cool that they actually included that, because that's a very easily missed detail. But yeah, I'm very happy with this figure. I think Black Series pulled it off very nicely. So yeah, it looks really cool. And I think that's all I've got to say for it, so we shall move on to the size comparisons. So, to start things off as always, here it is with a LEGO minifigure, with the Packet Destruction minifigure Mothra, with the Packet Destruction minifigure Godzilla. On to some more relevant size comparisons, here it is with the Saga Collections Boba Fett, with the Power of the Force Boba Fett. I'm going to stand up. Come on now. There we are. With the previous Black Series figure I reviewed, Maz Kanata. And here he is with the Marvel Legends All Greens exclusive Mystique, just to get an idea how it scales with Marvel Legend figures. Here it is with the NECA Elder Predator from 2011. An idea how it scales with NECA figures. And finally, here it is with the previous review, the Trendmaster's 1998 Shatterblast Godzilla. Now that we're done with all that, it's measuring time. So we'll get this measuring tape out, put it next to the figure, and you can see it's pretty much your standard 6-inch Black Series figure. So, no surprises there. So, that is pretty much it for the figure, and overall, I think he's really cool. You know, looks cool, it's got some cool accessories. There are some minor things I think they could have done to make the figure even better, like a movable rangefinder and double jointed elbows, but for what it is, it's really cool and it's really fun. I am quite happy with this figure. And if you wanted one for yourself on eBay, it's going for around $25 out of the box, and around over $30 brand new in the box. Which, for aftermarket prices, isn't really all that outrageous. It's actually fairly reasonable. And there's also quite a few alternate versions of the figure. Obviously, there's the original 2013 release. There's the San Diego Comic-Con version, which came with a Han Solo in carbonite. Then there's the prototype armor version, which is all white. And there's one based on his colors from the holiday special. And then there's the carbonized version, which is shiny. And that's kind of it. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, plenty of different versions of this figure to choose from. But yeah, I think that's all I've got to say, so hope you all enjoyed. See you later. Sayonara. Bye.